All right, I can see you clearly now. Y'all have just been this fuzzy mess. No, I'm joking. Thank you for cleaning the lens. All right. So, is Alex out today? Isn't that Alex that sits in front?
He just had his surgery yesterday.
Surgery. What do you have surgery for?
He had a labral tear in his shoulder.
Well, I hope he recovers well. Hope he recovers well. Um, it's Wednesday, the whatever today is, the 29th. Wow. Um, according to the calendar, I've reserved today to address any further questions over assignment 8, um, which we can certainly do. But I also said to, if you can, start taking a look at assignment 9. Um, and if we can start addressing the questions over assignment 9 today. Um, but I want to start off with talking about the exam. Number one, for the most part, everybody did really well across the two classes. Um, I forget what the exact percentage is, but well over 50% passed. Few A's, um, um, about 5 B's, 5 C's, and a few um, things not so hot as a C. So we're going to spend a little bit of time this morning just going over how do you access the key to the exam. I've already sent an announcement about this, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it in class. And how do you take a look at your graded exam? So let's hop on over to Blackboard. So first of all, in Blackboard, um, if we go to course content, down here at the very bottom, exam/quiz keys, you have the key to exam 1. This is my key. This is showing all the steps that you would go through to solve these problems, all the problems in exam 1. So I would take an opportunity to maybe print this out or go through it, especially when you want to start comparing it to your own exam. So how do you get to your own exam? So all you got to do is go to any of the links in the Gradescope. That's this link right here. It says Gradescope. Any of those will work. It's going to take you into Gradescope, and this will show you all of your submissions, anything that's been graded, that sort of thing. So you can come down here to exam 1, and the first thing that you're going to see is a copy of what you did, your scanned exam. This is what I received from you. You can flip through the pages by clicking that arrow right there. You can also take a look at the question. So if we want to look at a question 1, it'll take you to question 1 on the exam. It'll provide this boxed in area, and it'll show you any annotations, any notes that I make in regards to question 1. You can flip through all the questions, look through all the questions this way. Or you can, this is my preferred way to look at things, come down here to the very bottom where it says download graded copy, down here at the bottom. And I like this because um, after this first initial page, you're going to be brought to your annotated exam. This is what I did. Any sort of annotations that I made on your exam, circled something, made a note. You're going to see that here, and you're going to see the corresponding notes up here according to each question. So if I made any sort of note on your uh, paper, you're going to see those notes up here, and it'll have a number assigned to it, and you can find that number down here on your exam. So, this is how you look at your exam and how you can see uh, the exam key. So, this is your job. Um, Number one, I've already said that most everybody did really well in this exam, so I don't really have a reason to go through and spend a whole lot of time going over the exam. I may, after a little bit more analyzing, looking at the problems, I may say, all right, here's the number one problem that was missed on the exam, and I may go over that on Friday. But I just haven't spent time to look at that, so I don't have anything to say specifically about the exam because nothing's coming to mind. Um, but your job is this: to go through, get a printout of your graded exam, get a printout of the exam key, and specifically for the problems that you missed, you need to go through and start saying, all right, I missed this problem. Why did I miss it? Chances are I highlighted something, I circled something, I made a note that will kind of tell you where the mistake was, and you need to look at the key and discover for yourself what your error was, what mistake happened in that problem solving process, and hopefully learn from it. If there's something consistent that's happening, hopefully we start to make the changes to these consistent errors. If it was I just didn't know how to solve the problem, take time to review how to solve those types of problems so that when you encounter these problems again, you have learned from your mistakes. And that's your job. Welcome to college. That's your job now to figure out for yourself um, the errors that were made and how to correct them. Now, I'm available. All you got to do is I'm just an email away. Shoot me a question. If you have a question about, hey, I don't understand why I missed problem number such and such, well, all I got to do is I just kind of come over here and look at my iPad. I can pull up your test. I can pull up that question, and we can look at that together. And I can say, all right, well, you missed this problem because of blah blah blah. And I'll be more than happy to do that with you. But I'm just not going to spend the whole entire class time going over that whole entire exam. So, there's what I had to say about the exam. If you have any questions after you spend some time looking at your graded copy, I'm just an email away. So, I would love to assist and help in any way that I can in that regards. So, let's just transition out of talking about the exam, talk about today. What questions are lingering from assignment 8? If you completed assignment 8, have you started assignment 9? Do you have any questions over assignment 9? There is our realm of discussion that we can tackle today. So, the floor is yours. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to mute my mic just for a second. Okay. What can we look at?
Can we do 15?
On assignment 8,
Uh,
assignment 8?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Say that again, number what? 15?
15.
15. What is the domain? Oh, this one's good. Domain of C. Where C of X Alright, so in a shorthand version, there's C of X. I just omitted the if statements. So, using your own words.
Miss, Mr.
Go ahead.
Clopton, you wrote down question 16. Question 15 is what is the domain of S?
Oh, sorry. Alright. Sorry. S. Where S Alright, so question. This word domain. What is domain? What does that mean? What are we talking about?
The values of X.
The values of X that I'm gonna extend that definition that can be used in a function. The values of X that can be used in a function. Now, S of t is a rational function. Rational function means that you have a variable or variables in your denominator. So, do you remember, this is back in assignment 2, I believe, we dealt with rational equations. And remember this idea that, the idea that you cannot, what can we not divide by? What's the one thing we cannot divide by? 0. We cannot divide by 0. So remember what dealing with rational functions, we went through this process of saying, alright, we're going to get rid of the fractions in a rational equation by multiplying through by LCD. But before we did that, we always went through and said, x cannot be equal to fill in the blank, depending on whatever the denominator was. So, do the same thing here. You have a rational function. So, ask the question, t cannot be equal to what? What's the one value of t that we can't plug in? 0. That's the one value of t that we cannot plug in. We cannot plug in 0 because if we plug in 0, 2 over 0 is undefined, and we can't subtract 1 from anything that's undefined. But everything else is going to work. You plug in 1, 2 over 1 is 2, minus 1, you get something. Plug in 500, you're going to get some fraction, minus 1, still going to work. So, when it comes to answering the question about our domain, I'm going to reverse engineer this. Let's think about a number line from negative infinity to infinity. Now, the one thing that we can't plug in is 0. So I'll put an open circle around 0, but everything else works. So this is my domain in a graphical interpretation. Everything from negative infinity to 0 and everything after 0 all the way up to infinity. So how do I express this graph in interval notation? How do I express this graph in the interval notation?
Would you put it as an or?
We would use we'd use the union symbol, because that means or. So what's the interval notation for this shaded region right here? How do we express this in interval notation?
It would be a parenthesis, negative infinity, and then 0.
Comma 0. And then, alright, so I think you got it. And then over here we express it as 0 to positive infinity. So, extending this problem, just thinking about it a little bit, because this is something that we're going to talk about later on in the semester. What if I had f of x was equal to 5 over x minus 2 times an x plus 3? What is the domain? Now think about this. This is a rational equation, isn't it? Because you have variables in the denominator. Y'all agree? So, before I can answer the question about what the domain is, the first thing I got to do is ask myself, what can x not equal? There's two things that x cannot equal. What are they? 2 and what? There you go. That works. Negative 3. Yeah, negative 3. So, let's reverse engineer this. So here's negative 3. Here's 2. So I'm going to put open circles around negative 3 and positive 2. I'm going to shade everywhere in between and beyond. So this graph represents my domain. Those are big open circles right there. So how would I express this again in interval notation? You tell me. Union symbol? How many union symbols am I going to use? 2. So that means I'm going to have 3 intervals. First interval from negative infinity to negative 3. Second interval from negative 3 to 2. Third interval from 2 to infinity. Does that make sense? Now, just to take it a step further, what if I told you that t of x was equal to 5 over an x squared plus x minus 6? What do you think we ought to do here?
Factor.
Factor. And what is the factored form of this? What are the factors of negative 6 that add up to positive 1?
X minus 2. Oh, yeah, x plus 3.
So you see what I just did? I just took these and I've just multiplied them together to give me this. And so now you can say that your domain, and I'm not going to write it down again, is that right there. This is where things are going in this class. At some point we're going to start talking about how to graph a function like this, and we got to start asking questions about things like the domain. What are the things that I can actually plug in into this function? And I want to ask questions about what is this domain, what is the domain of the function. Alright, cool. I like these little opportunities to expand upon the homework, showing you how far this can go. Alright, let's keep going. What else can we look at?
Can we do number 2?
Assignment 8?
Yes, sir.
I don't need to write this. Well, I'm going to write it down. I'll write it down. I mean, you all have it there. So I've already asked this question, but I said, what is the domain? And you said the domain is the what?
The value x.
The x's, right? So when we're dealing with an ordered pair, the x's are always the first values, right? Now, you'll notice that in the notes when we talked about the domain, number 1, I like to write things in numerical order, and 2, we do not repeat values. So when I look at these, my x's, and I highlighted them in blue, the lowest value is 0. Then we get to 1. Then I get to 4.5. Then I have 5. Now, notice that you have a 5 here and a 5 there. or a 5 here and a 5 there. We do not repeat the 5. So we're done. Does that make sense? B, the range. What is the range?
The y values.
So I'll just circle those. So let's write these out in numerical order from least to greatest. So I have a -8. I think that's the smallest value. Then I get to 0. Now I have 2 zeros. So do I write 0 twice? All right, 2/3. 2/3 is, I know the square root of 2 is 1.4. 2/3 is 0.666. So we're going to put square root of 2 first. And then, that's 1.44. So we'll write 2/3 first. And then square root of 2, which is 1.4 something. And then C, is this a function? And I'm going to say explain. So you tell me, is this a function? Yes or no? And tell me why.
No, it is not, because the x value 5 repeats.
Good. Couldn't have said it better myself. Alright, what else can we look at?
Number 4 on part 8 or assignment 8.
Alright, number 4 has A through G. Is there a specific problem that you want to look at?
G.
So, there is a very straightforward way to answer this question. If y is equal to plus or minus x, then y is not a function of x. if y is equal to plus or minus x, then y is not a function of x. So, the only time that you get this type of situation is when you have a, for example, y squared equals x. Because what we want to do is we want to get y by itself, so I would then square root both sides. But when I square root both sides, I have to include a plus or minus notation, and that gives me plus or minus, in this case, square root of x. But there's that plus or minus. So I guess what I want to do is I want to highlight the plus or minus. So if you have a y is equal to a plus or minus, something with x, or the idea is that you can get more than two values of x out for a given y, it's not a function. So, do we have any plus or minus notation here? Do we have y is equal to plus or minus? No. So since there's no plus or minus notation, if it was y equal to plus or minus, then it would not be a function. But we don't have the plus or minus notation, so this is just simply saying, so you can say this, since no y is equal to plus or minus blank, yes, this is a function. What else can we look at? Are we done with assignment 8? Are we finished? Have y'all started looking at assignment 9? Any questions over assignment 9? Or are we just working on assignment 9?
We don't have anything so far on assignment 9. Any
Okay.
questions?
Alright.
Your conference is scheduled to end in 2 minutes.
Okay, we will spend Friday answering any lingering questions over assignment 9. Since y'all are already started working on assignment 9, if you finish it, feel free to look ahead at assignment 10. Remember to, if you have any questions about the exam, after you spend time looking at it, shoot me an email and I'll be glad to answer those. So, without any further ado, I will see y'all on Friday. So, take care. Oh, and we'll have a quiz on Friday over assignment 8. So, be prepared for that. Alright, so I'll see y'all on Friday. Take care. Bye.
Your conference is now over. Goodbye.